Hello everyone, my name is Matt Scorpion, and welcome back to Destiny 2. Now, if you can tell, the Guardian games have begun, and they will be running until the next 3 weeks till end of season. So if you wish to grind out the season at all, this would probably be the time to do it, as it is the best case of doing one thing and doing something else at the same time. Now, I'll get into what Guardian games are more in depth on a separate video, but for now, let's just get over with the reset. So, when you spawn in, of course, you'll be given a introduction quest. It tells you to go to the tower. You will see a few more things that is specific to the event in the tower, but aside from that, most of the same here. Now, in the open world, going about, for our current Nightfall Strike, it is currently the European Dead Zone's arms dealer rebranded, which, it's hard to say if it's easier or harder, because, I don't know, it's hard to say. It almost seemed easier / harder at the same time. It might have just restructured where it's hard. But in terms of your modifiers, at least for Grandmasters, you have 3 Elemental Shields, Barrier and Unstoppable Champions, Solar Threat for incoming solar damage boost, and the usual Grandmaster modifiers, Extinguish, Limited Revives, Scorched Earth for enemies throwing more grenades, Chaff for no radar, and then the usual overcharged weapons with Void and Strand Surge and overcharged rocket launchers for this Grandmaster. And if you actually wanted to run it on Grandmaster or just run the Nightfall in general, you will have access to the Militias Birthright. Now, let me reiterate for you, this is currently focusable as well, but at the end of this season, Militias Birthright will no longer be in rotation. What does that mean? It will no longer be a weekly drop from the Nightfall. It will not be current, air quotes, and it will no longer have an adept version available. You will likely still be able to focus in the legacy gear when it gets re-added here, but after that, this is the only place until it re-enters rotation in the future date. Moving forward as well, nothing new on Gambit as usual, but then when you go into Crucible, you will see a empty mode here, because this will be Trials for the weekend, but we also have a limited time Supremacy return, which this is meant for Guardian games, but I do believe there is just normal Supremacy that you wish to play in case you just wanted to play Supremacy again. This was a Crucible game mode that I believe was sunset some time ago for a lack of play. And I do not know officially if it's around for all 3 weeks or if that's just the rotator match for this week. So to keep an eye out. But we also have control available for that. Then in terms of our raids and rotations, our current rotation raid, let's see, Garden of... okay. So while we're here, the current Pinnacle dungeon for farming is Pit of Heresy, which is a really good armor farm in case you wanted to hide stack gear in that note. But in terms of the rotations, I do believe... Oh, no, that's Spire of the Watcher. What is our raid for the... Oh, it's probably Vault of Glass. So our rotation raid Pinnacle is Vault of Glass. That means all challenges are currently active, start to finish. And Master Mode is once again available for recovery-focused armor if you wish to farm Master Vault gear. But aside from that, it is all of the time-lost weapons available. Now, they're in the Master Mode Vault of Glass. If you didn't know, there's Arc and Void Shields, the Master Modifiers, Overload and Barrier Champions, but then Void and Strand Overcharge with Overcharged Rocket Launchers, in addition to the standard Overcharges this season, so keep an eye out there. Now, going throughout the world, speaking of raids, for our raid challenges, in the Last Wish, we have Forever Fight Challenge. In Garden of Salvation, we currently do have To the Top Challenge. Then, going all the way to Europa for this one, I believe Red Rover, which is Security Challenge. That's an annoying one, in case you didn't know. Then, for the Throne World itself, current active challenge is Defense is Down Challenge, which is Third Encounter Challenge. Is it Third Encounter? Yeah, it's Third Encounter. But then, going back to Neptune, for the active Root of Nightmares, it is the Crossfire Challenge, which is Encounter 2. Excuse me. And like I said, I don't know officially. I haven't done a Master Challenge since the rotation happened, so I don't know if it's the same guns as before, or if it's just a rotation of guns randomly happening as the raid goes on. And if you wish to farm Master Mode, it is Intellect-focused armor with the same Surges active, Void and Strand with overcharged shotguns and Root of Nightmares. So, you know, maybe you want to bring conditional finality, maybe. Who knows? But then throughout that is pretty much everything raid-wise. Now, checking in at Eternity for our rotations here. Eternity on, or Dares of Eternity on Legend Mode, farming is Hive, Vex, and Valis to Auric for that rotation. Now, in terms of our seasonal stuff, now, heading into here, on the Battleground side, we still have the rotation, it's still current, and then we also have the Defiant Battlegrounds in the Orbital Prison for the Legend Mode, if you wish to farm that out. And I will warn you, These will likely stop being pinnacle next season, but they will likely be powerful next season as well, just because that's usually how it goes when the season kind of falls out of rotation. And while we're speaking of season for the current available challenges, it's the last week of challenges, as in we're getting no more of the weekly seasonal challenges after this week. You'll keep the ones in your inventory, the ones that award upgrades for the war table, but everything else is basically just XP or currencies will be gone, no longer accessible, so do them while you can. And for the last week, we have Ultimate Defiance, which is defeating combatants with supers in the Defiant Battlegrounds playlist. Bonus progress if you also have Strand equipped. Favored Liberator for generating favors in seasonal activities. All members of your current fire team will contribute to overall progress. Easy one. And you have Europa activities for completing activities on Europa, including bounties, patrols, public events, and lost sectors. And Defiant Vanguard Ornament for acquiring the Vanguard Ornament for Eclectic Distaff. If you don't know what that means, if you head over to the Zavala and view his reputation screen, after you've gone through the ranks one time and earned the staff itself, you'll be able to earn the ornament for it after getting to rank 16 as well. So if you need to do any of those challenges, that's how you do them for all the playlist activities, Strikes, Crucible, and Gambit. Now, aside from that, that is pretty much most of the world. Checking on Neomuna while we're there. Our weekly mission is currently the Desperate Measures, which is, I think, I forget if this is a final mission. It's hard to say. It's either final mission or the Radial Mast mission. It's hard to say for certain. But aside from that, the current Vex Incursion Zone is in the Liming Harbor as well. So that also means that the hard reset partition is here, which is a pretty quick and easy one to do. That's the Sparrow Racing one, in case you don't remember which is which. Now, I believe that is pretty much everything. Rotation for the season and reset. Keep in mind, we only have 3 more weeks left in the season, so if there's anything you need to wrap up, I would recommend doing it now, just because doing things out of season is a little weird, and sometimes something's not available so easily. Visiting Banshee, on the front page, we have Under Your Skin, which is a tunnel vision turnabout precision frame void bow. Pretty solid one with land tank origin trait. Judgment of Kelgrath, an aggressive frame glaive with overflow and incandescent with the Hake or ambush origin traits. Not too shabby on this one. Solid glaive all around. Legal Action 2, which is a high impact frame kinetic pulse rifle. No exact origin traits on it, but Frenzy is pretty solid moving target if you wish to visit the Crucible. Aside from that, pretty solid barrel and mag perks. Either range or more size, or range and more recoil control. Then you also have 7 Seraph Sidearm, which is a sidearm, and then you also have the Falling Guillotine, which is pretty much one of the best rolls you can get on this thing. You can get Jagged Blade for the most damage. Now, you won't have the Swordmaster's Guard for the most charge rate, although you might not want to even bother with charge or doing the heavy attack. Basically, with some of the best spam, it gives you more damage and gives you more ammo perks. Then, in terms of our main variety, we have Ragnhild D, a aggressive frame shotgun, Hake breach ornaments as well. Which, I'm not gonna lie, this right here is the role that I go with. Full choke, tact mag, subsistence demolitionist. This is the role I crafted myself. And on that same note, this is craftable in case you didn't make it and join later. Grab one of these, throw them in your vaults, or grab 2 of them, let me say. Wait until you can manually equip a red border, and you'll be able to craft that yourself. You also have Boudica C, a precision frame sidearm. A lot of people call it John Wick sidearm, which this isn't a half bad roll, but at the same time, it's a sidearm. What are you gonna do with it? And then we also have Emmet AR2. Same advice goes for this one as I did Ragnhild. And this is a pretty solid auto rifle all around. Precision frame keeps recoil down. It has some of the best perks in general. Also was introduced, well, let's say it was introduced. It took advantage of Solar 3.0 pretty well with access to things like Incandescent and Ambitious Assassin. But still pretty solid overall auto rifle. Then same thing goes for Akelos. Grab those, keep them in your vault for when you can craft them. Now, the Freezing Frenzy Vorpal isn't that great. I suppose it's an ad clear and maybe champion role, although I could see other roles of this doing much better. Nazradin, an Adeptive Frame field-tested version. Now, this is a pretty standard sword. It's an uppercut sword, so there's not much fancy about it, and it has some of the weirder perks in terms of everything else, so I wouldn't recommend that if you need a sword for anything. And we also have Marcelian C, which is a rapid fire frame, a grenade launcher, a Hake one, new, also craftable, but I swear, this cannot be made crafted. It just hasn't dropped. I've gotten this to drop in the wild, but it just is not happening red border. Don't know why. It seems like a nice grenade launcher, but it just does not want to exist, so there's that. Also, I just noticed that Banshee has some candles for the Guardian games, but they're Wait, is one of them blue? It's hard to tell. That looked green. Yeah, the flyer... I'm just gonna say it's blue for the sake of the event. Bungie would never mess up like that. And wrapping things up, visiting Ada for the shaders, we have Vitrified Chronology from Season of the Dawn, which is a pretty solid one. It's a dark blue, white, purple-ish. I approve of this shader generally in ideas of some things, but not the root gear as usual. Mercury Prophetic, which is one from Curse of Osiris, which is basically a... Well, put that on Trials gear. It'll probably look good. And we also have New Monarchy Regalia, which is one of the old-fashioned red and gold New Monarchy shaders. If you wish to rep the red and gold, this is pretty much one of the simplest ways to do it, even if there are better ones out there. Now, with that, that is the last of the resets, at least that I'm thinking off the top of my head. Probably missed something like I always do, but aside from that, the Guardian games have begun. I wish everyone luck, but still, go Titans, because, well, Titans. And I will see you all in the next video.